Hi, I'm Dana Vetan. Today I'm excited to show you how to run the first activity in the Foundation Sprint workshop based on the book Click by Knapp and John Zeratsky called Aligning on the Basics. This means getting everyone on the same page about who the customer is, what problem is being solved, the team's unique advantages, and who the competitors are. Essentially, it's about answering the big question: why are we doing this project? And making sure the whole team has a clear starting point. Think of it like tuning your instruments before a concert. If every instrument isn't perfectly in tune, the music won't sound right. By aligning your team on these core elements, you ensure your project starts on the right note. If you're new to the Foundation Sprint, check out the What is the Foundation Sprint video in the playlist. The basics creates common ground between different stakeholders by identifying four key elements: the customer, their problem, your team's unique advantages, and your competitors. If you're familiar with the SWOT framework, you'll notice some similarities. In SWOT, strengths mirror your advantages, threats reflect your competitors, and opportunities might capture customer needs and challenges. However, in the Foundation Sprint Basics, we intentionally leave out weaknesses. Our focus is solely on what drives us forward. This streamlined approach helps the team build a shared, positive vision right from the start. Aligning on the basics is the first group activity after kicking off the workshop. And I'll walk you through exactly how this works using our Miro board template, and you can find the link below. The basics exercise happens after the facilitator announces the workshop objective, outlines the 2-day agenda, explains why this workshop is needed, and sets the stage for the workshop with collaboration guidelines. Of course, runs a icebreaker to get the team get to know each other and get more comfortable. If you're working with about 5 people, which is ideal, plan for around 80 minutes and a break in between. If your team is larger, you need to allow more time for discussion. So keep that in mind when you build your agenda. Now, whether you're online or in person with sticky notes, markers, a board wall, timer, the process is the same. But in this lesson, we are going to do it online using tools like Miro. Before we begin, it's important to know that across this entire workshop, we'll use a method called Note, Vote, and Refine, a simple but powerful way to surface the best ideas without groupthink getting in the way. First, everyone grabs some sticky notes and takes a few moments to jot down their ideas independently. Starting solo ensures every voice is heard, not just the loudest in the room, but also the quieter, reflective thinkers who might need a moment to process. This step keeps ideas fresh and unbiased, avoiding the risk of groupthink. Then the team votes on the most promising ideas. This creates a quick visual heat map of where the strongest concepts are, helping us zero in on what's got more potential. Now that we've identified the top ideas through voting, we open up the discussion. This is where we dive into debates, challenge assumptions, and refine our thinking together. Because the best ideas don't just win votes, they withstand scrutiny. So now that we've nailed down the structure of the note, vote, and refine method, let's jump back into our workshop. Across the lessons in this course, we will refer to a case study to make things easier to understand. Imagine a multinational data and analytics company with over 10,000 employees. They provide data services, predictive insights, and fraud prevention across industries. And they sit on mountains of data, rules, and regulations. Within this organization, a dedicated team was tasked with developing a new value proposition, one that leverages the company existing data sets to add real value. They held several alignment meetings, exchanging ideas and exploring a wide range of possibilities. Their goal was to build a simple online tool that gathers all the key information about data privacy in one place. Think of it as having laws, updates, and practical tips all in one screen. So anyone responsible with keeping data safe can quickly find what they need, manage risks, and stay on top of changing rules. Yet, despite their best efforts, progress was slow because every stakeholder approached the challenge from a different angle. And this is a common situation, right? When diverse perspectives don't align, it's hard to build a shared vision. Recognizing this, the team blocked out 2 full days in their calendars for focused work and decision making. And that's basically the foundation sprint workshop we are doing right now. The team was made up of director of strategy and business development, which was a decider, strategy manager, UX researcher, director of content, and a data protection manager who was like a very hands-on person on the job. As you can see, their expertise and knowledge vary, and their goals might be slightly different. So it's only natural for each stakeholder to have their own view on what the solution should be. The director of strategy might be laser focused on the big picture, the UX researcher on the user pain points, the data protection manager on regulatory compliance, and the director on content on delivering the right information at the right time. And that's not just okay, it's essential. Diverse viewpoints are the fuel for innovation. The real challenge isn't that people see things differently, it's finding a way to align those perspectives around the shared vision. That's exactly what the first activity was dedicated to do, align on the basics, meaning the customer. The team had 5 minutes and a stack of sticky notes to individually brainstorm answers to who are we helping or who is our target customer. As a facilitator, you'd encourage them to be as specific as possible. For example, rather than just writing B2B decision makers, ask for managers who buy softwares for their teams. That kind of specificity adds clarity and context to the discussion. Here is the kind of answers the data and analytics team produced: data protection officers, data privacy managers, compliance managers, chief privacy officer, data privacy analyst handling business queries, corporate compliance officer, risk managers focused on fraud detection, general counsels ensuring corporate compliance, and much more. When the timer runs out, it's time to move to the next step: silent voting. Congratulate the team as they've generated a wide range of target audiences. Now, just like curating a playlist, it's time to pick the tracks that set the right mood for your project. Here's how we do it. First, ask each team member to grab 3 dot stickers and spend 3 minutes voting in silence. This process will reveal which customer segments resonates most with the team. Once the timer goes off, review the sticky notes with the most dots. For example, you might notice that many dots are on segments like data protection and security professionals, handling business requests, and data protection managers reporting to DPOs. Next, invite those who voted on those top segments to explain what makes them stand out. Ask questions like, what's the difference between them? Why does one have more potential than the others? And allow about 10 minutes for open discussions and clarifications. Finally, the decider will summarize the discussion, make the final call by selecting the target customer group and explain to the team the rationale behind choosing the specific customer. As the facilitator, move the chosen sticky note to the highlighted area on your board so you can easily find it and refer back to it in the next phases. And that's it. You've got your target customer locked in. Now that you've picked your target customer, it's time for the second step: identifying their problem. This next activity takes about 5 minutes. Here's how it works. Ask your team to brainstorm individually and answer this question: what customer problem are we solving? One problem per sticky note, keep it simple and clear. Encourage the team to think of as many challenges, frustrations, or barriers as they can. Maybe it's something that slows customers down, causes friction in their daily work, or creates unnecessary complexity. and remind them their answers should make sense for the customer and for the challenge at hand, the one that they have previously selected. Start the timer and let them dive in. Going back to our case study, the data and analytics team who decided to focus on data protection and security professionals provided answers like there are too many updates to keep track of, seeking external advice when internal answers aren't available, difficulties in standardizing responses because every situation is unique, information not being consolidated in one place, needing to research multiple sources of information for accurate data. As you can see, their customers face a multitude of challenges, but the team cannot address every issue. It's time for them to prioritize the most critical ones to ensure their efforts make the greatest impact. As a facilitator, hand out three dot stickers to each team member. Ask everyone to take a few minutes to quietly review all the problems on the board. Vote by placing their dots on the problems they believe are the most pressing. They can put all three dots on one problem if they feel strongly about it, or spread them across different sticky notes. Set the timer for 3 minutes and let them vote. Once voting is done, it's time to discuss. If the decider isn't sure which problem to choose, have a discussion, have a quick team discussion. Encourage team members to explain why they voted the way they did. This part is key. Sometimes the best insights come from hearing each other's perspectives. Remember, the decider has the final say, even if they choose a problem that got fewer votes. Once the choice is made, move the selected problem into the blue area on the board and take a moment to step back and look at the customer and the problem together. Ask the team, does this combination make sense? Is this the right problem for this customer segment? If it feels aligned, you're good to go. And just like that, you've defined the core problem your team will tackle. For our data and analytics team, the focus was on data protection and security professionals needing to research multiple sources for accurate information when they receive business requests. Before moving on, be very mindful that the customer segment and the problem you've chosen are based solely on your team's internal knowledge and experience. In other words, you're working off an educated guess rather than hard data or external research. I understand that when everyone is passionate and has diverse viewpoints, it's tempting to lean on personal insights. But without concrete evidence, there's a risk that you might be aligning on assumptions rather than reality. Recognizing this pitfall now will remind you later to validate those choices with real data, ensuring that your focus matches what the market needs. This risk is even more pronounced in large enterprises. In a startup scenario, the very environment where the foundation sprint was born, the founders live and breathe customer needs. They are deeply connected with what's happening on the ground, so their assumptions are often closer to the reality. But in larger organizations, teams can become more disconnected from the customer. This disconnect increases the likelihood of making the wrong bet. So grounding your decisions in insights isn't just best practice, is essential. Next up, give your team 20 minutes to recharge, stretch, and grab a coffee. When they're back, you'll dive into identifying your team's advantages. Welcome your team back from the break. It's time to focus on what sets them apart. Here's the question for this next brainstorm. What are your team's unique advantages? As a facilitator, you would give the team 5 minutes to brainstorm alone, writing one advantage per sticky note. Encourage them to think about three categories. Capabilities: what skills, tools, or resources do you have that others don't? Motivations: what drives you to solve this challenge? Why does it matter to your team? Insights: what unique knowledge or understanding does your team have? Remind them to keep their ideas clear and concise. Write one advantage per sticky note. Now, the data and analytics team from our case study came up with capabilities like deep understanding of legal frameworks, access to cutting edge tools, a comprehensive database, compliance at scale, cross functional teams with expertise, strong relationships, motivations like strong drive to help clients, a passion for innovation, customer focus, dedication to stay ahead of emerging trends, and insights like in depth understanding of legal workflows, proven record, feedback loops, early awareness of emerging trends. The data and analytics team generated a mix of advantages, but not every strength carries equal weight. To make a real impact, the team needs to zero in on the advantages that are most relevant to their challenge, those that set them apart. Think of it as fine tuning an orchestra. While every instrument adds value, only a few lead the melody. In this next step, we are using silent dot voting. The facilitator hands out 3 dots per person and gives the team 3 minutes to quietly review all the ideas on the board. People can vote on the advantages that resonate most with the challenge, whether that means putting all 3 dots on one sticky note or spreading them out. Once voting is done, if the decider isn't sure which advantages to select, the facilitator opens up a quick team discussions where team members explain their votes. When the conversation wraps up, the decider makes the final call on which advantages are most critical for the challenge. For the data and analytics team, a core capability was the fact they already had scalable platforms, they had a passion for innovation, and because they were experts in the field, they had early awareness of upcoming legislative changes, which is very important. As a facilitator, you would take a step back and review the chosen advantages by asking the team, does this combination of capabilities, motivations, and insights reflect your unique edge? If it feels right, you're all set. You now have a clear understanding of what makes your team stand out. Now that we've nailed down the customer, their problem, and the team's unique advantages, it's time to zoom out and ask, who are we up against? This next brainstorm helps your team identify the competitive landscape. Set a 5 minute timer and have everyone brainstorm alone, writing one competitor or substitute per sticky note. Ask the team to consider direct competitors, like who offers a similar product or service, who's already solving this problem in the same space. Is there a 100-pound gorilla in the market, the biggest, the strongest player that everyone knows about? But also have them consider substitutes. How are people currently solving this problem without your product? Are there alternative solutions that meet the same need, even if they are completely different from what you offer? As a tip, encourage the team to think broadly. Sometimes your biggest competition isn't another product, it could be an existing habit, an internal process, or a workaround that your customers rely on. Going back to our case study, the data and analytics team selected this problem: data protection and security professionals handling business requests and needing to research multiple sources for accurate information. So they looked at competitors like Thomson and Reuters, a dominant force, OneTrust, a growing player in data privacy management. And for substitutes, they could find emails, memos, Excel files, questionnaires, conversations with colleagues for quick advice, law firm bulletins and blogs, internal logs, advice from peers on Slack, Google search, copy pasting specific information from other websites, internal subject matter experts, or regulator websites, and so on. Industry conferences for staying updated. Now, once the timer is up, you'll have a board full of competitors and substitutes. Now that the team has brainstormed the competition, the next steps are familiar. Silent voting, 3 minutes. Each team member gets 3 dots to vote on the competitors or substitutes they believe are the most significant, the ones they see as the biggest threat, or the most effective and often overlooked alternatives. As a tip, before you begin voting, take a moment to review the board and cluster similar ideas together. Grouping duplicates ensures that votes aren't scattered around redundant options, giving you a clear picture of which ideas actually stand out. After voting, the team discusses the top voted items. If the decider isn't sure which competitors to select, they can ask the team to explain their votes and share their insights. The decider makes the final call, even if his choice or her choice has fewer votes. And the facilitator moves the selected competitors into the gray area on the board under the customer and the problem. Take a step back to review all the elements together: customer, problem, unique advantages, and competitors, and ensure they align. And a simple way to do that as the facilitator is to take all the selected sticky notes from the gray areas and move them into the basics worksheet. This gives the team a clear, organized overview of the key elements they aligned on. Customer, in our case, data protection and security professionals who are handling business requests. Problem, needing to research multiple sources for accurate information. Advantages, platforms that ensure compliance at scale, early awareness of upcoming changes, passion for innovation. Competition, the 800-pound gorilla, Thomson Reuters. Their top alternative, conversations with colleagues. Now, with this final worksheet, your team now has a solid foundation for the rest of the workshop. Everything is clear, aligned, and the team is ready for the next steps. Next up, differentiation. How do you radically separate from competition? Thanks for joining today's lesson. If you missed any earlier sessions or want to revisit a step, simply head back to the Foundation Sprint playlist. Also, check out the Design Sprint Academy website for free resources, templates, and team trainings on problem framing and design sprints. See you in the next lesson, differentiators.